everyone, welcome to the first demo video for making the body pillow. I am going to show you how to cut and fold the fabric in this video, and then in the next one I'll show you how to sew side one. So first you are going to need a blanket, and then you're going to need to fold it in half, hot dog style. So you want to make sure that it's folded in half exactly and that it's longer, so it's folded along the long edge. Make sure that it's completely perfect on both sides. If you would like a partner to help you with this, you're more than welcome to have someone help you, but you do not have to if you feel like you got this on your own. So now that my blanket is folded in half pretty perfectly, I'm gonna slide this to the middle of the shot, hopefully. Flatten everything out. Now what I'm going to do is pin all the way around the edges to make it easier to cut. You do not need to clip your folded edge because it's already folded and it's going to stay exactly where you want it to. These blankets are not going to be perfectly even just because they're $2 blankets from Walmart. So we are going to end up cutting them so they become a little bit more even. So again, I'm just clipping all the way around. It doesn't need to be perfect. And you want to make sure that you leave at least 2 sewing clips left over because that's going to help you with your tape measure. Okay, now my next step is to take a tape measure and clip it to where you need it to go. You need your blanket to be 22 inches wide and 52 inches long. So I'm going to do 52 inches lengthwise first. So on one side of your tape measure you have inches, the other half or the other side you have your centimeters. So in order to do this, I am going to clip my tape measure to the edge of my fabric. I'm going to measure all the way down and clip it where it says 52. I'm just going to put a little sewing clip right there, kind of pinching the fabric in so it doesn't move. That's all you're going to need to do because then you're going to flip up the rest of the measuring tape and you're just going to cut a straight line along this way. So I'm lining it up as best I can. If it's not perfect, that's okay. If you're curious or if you're not sure if you measured it correctly, always go a little bit longer than 52 inches. Try not to go any shorter. Being very careful not to cut the tape measure because I only have so many of those. And then cutting all the way to the edge. Perfect, now that I've removed that edge, I'm going to go ahead and place my sewing clips back along that edge that I just cut to make sure that my blanket stays folded nicely. And now I'm going to measure 22 inches wide. You're going to clip your tape measure to the folded edge of the fabric. You're going to measure 22 inches across. And again, just gently clip that in place, just kind of pinch it. If it's not perfect, that's okay. Always measure a little bit bigger because you can always cut off the excess later. If you wanted to add another tape measure down here to make sure that you're cutting straight all the way, you can. But what I'm going to do is just visualize it from the other angle and cut toward the shorter side of the measuring tape. Again, going a little bit bigger than what I think I need to. Now it might be kind of hard to see on camera, but I did end up cutting it a little bit bigger than what I needed. I cut it at about 23 inches. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do is remove this piece of fabric that I just cut. We don't need to save it for anything, so you can go ahead and just throw it away. And instead, I'm going to cut up until I reach 22, make a little notch there, make a little notch up until 22, flip over my tape measure, and then I'm gonna cut from here down. Always measure larger just in case. So now that I have a notch that's pretty solidly at 22 inches, I'm gonna go ahead and move my tape measure up a little further. So that way I can visualize all of the places that I need to cut the fabric. Gonna clip that there, lay it flat, put another sewing clip at 22. It's okay if your tape measure doesn't stay. That's why it's helpful to have a partner, because sometimes your partner can hold it in place for you. And I'm just going to cut straight up again. You can always adjust as you need to. I'm just kind of moving my tape measure to see where I've gone a little bit too long or a little bit too short. So far it looks pretty good, so I'm going to replace my sewing clips as I go to make sure that nothing falls apart. And now I'm going to replace my tape measure a little bit closer to the other edge and continue to cut the fabric. It's really important to put your sewing clips on your fabric because this may take you multiple days, which is fine. You will have time, but if it does take you multiple days, then sometimes that causes your fabric to fall apart if you don't clip it in place correctly. So make sure that you're always clipping your fabric together as you go so you don't lose your place. And now that I've finished cutting off that edge of my fabric, I'm going to throw away my scraps and replace my sewing clips. Now that I've replaced my sewing clips and I have taken my tape measure off of my body pillow, I'm going to cut off the folded edge right here and the selvage edge right here. Selvage is just another word for raw edge, and that just means that you haven't cut the fabric on that side. And now I'm going to cut off the folded edge. In order to do this, you are going to take your shears and you are just going to cut the folded edge. We are not cutting around it. We are literally sticking the scissors inside the fold to make sure that it's an even cut. All of your other edges are clipped together, so nothing should fall apart. Depending on how sharp your shears are, this may take a long time or it may take a short time, but we've got class time, so do not worry. And as I go, I'm placing more sewing clips by the time I'm done, I should have sewing clips on all 4 edges of my 2 sheets of fabric. I should now have 2 separate sheets. If you still only have 1, you have forgotten to cut one of your edges. So go ahead and do that now. And that's it. You have sewing clips on the folded edge, which is no longer folded because we cut it, the bottom edge, and the far edge and the top edge. Again, it should be about 52 inches long and 22 inches across. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to sew side 1. The body pillow is essentially a giant zipper pouch, so you've done very similar steps before. Thank you for watching.